extremely late night video for you guys, but there was some additions, re-signings, players were cut on other teams that I found interesting. There was some news and notes, so I want to talk about it all tonight before the tampering period opens tomorrow at noon. So let's jump into this. What is up, Finn fans? Some moves happened over the weekend. Today being Sunday, again, I'm recording this late. It's 12:13, so you'll probably get it around like 12:30-ish. But tomorrow, the tampering period, Monday, starts at noon. So I kind of want to talk about some of these news and notes that came out talking about the Miami Dolphins. First and foremost, the Dolphins have publicly expressed interest in keeping Isaiah Wynn, Andrew Van Ginkel, amongst others. Chubb Phillips injuries obviously make Van Ginkel and even more important to retain. So the Dolphins are really trying to focus on bringing back Andrew Van Ginkel, as well as Savon Ahmed or other incumbents of interest. He should be ready for 2024 opener. So just a little tidbits on what happened. The Dolphins re-signed a few players. They re-signed Nick Needham, which I'm happy about. That's good depth. He's a solid corner, could possibly play safety, but he's very good depth. I like that move. They re-signed Robert Jones. And if you guys remember my who we should re-sign or tag situation, I talked about how he can get a tender. Him and Campbell both could get tendered. Well, the Dolphins just re-signed them. I don't know what their contracts look like, but the Dolphins did end up re-signing them, which I'm happy about. Robert Jones, he's could definitely compete for one of the guard positions. Again, they're thinking about bringing back Isaiah Wynn, which I'd be happy with. He's just got to stay healthy. But those three signings, again, they're not big. They're not splashy. They're not, oh my goodness, the Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl. They're solid depth. I'm happy with those signings. Now, there's also this news that I talked to you guys about in the community tab, if you didn't see it, and that is Teron Armstead is expected to return for the 2024 season, as he and the team are working to finalize an adjusted contract, sources say. It's not done yet, but the hope is it should be finalized soon, would be a huge lift for Miami, which means that the Dolphins would get a huge cap lift because his cap space or cap hit is pretty big. I'm going to pull it up right now, and we're going to look at that as well as other contracts that might affect the Miami Dolphins. So if you look here, this is his contract. So right now it would be a $20.8 million cap hit. And the only way they can move off of it is if they do anything post June 1st. With a release, you get 9.5, and with a trade, you get 14.5. But he's coming back, and the Dolphins definitely would want him as some type of insurance at left tackle. So they're probably going to have to work these numbers to drop that 20 million, maybe down to like 10, maybe down to 9, but get the Dolphins some cap relief. Because where the Dolphins sit right now, I like to go to over the cap because they give you a more assessed look, 23 million over. So they have a lot of things they need to do. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey are up for restructuring that could happen. If Tua gets a new contract, that would save a lot from that 23 million. Teron Armstead, 20 million could save there. A lot of those moves can be done. Again, you can cut White, you can cut Jeff Wilson, kind of brings it down to 16 million, which you then could work with. You can take this base salary and turn that into a signing bonus, which then would put the Dolphins at 3 million plus in the green. It's very big with Tyreek Hill. And then again, Jalen Ramsey and his contract. But a lot can still needs to be done when it comes to the cap space, because the Dolphins are still sitting at negative 23 in cap space, and they have till Wednesday. Now, like I said, tomorrow at noon is the tampering period, and you could go into it and you can come into some understanding and some agreements on contract. Oh, we'll give you this amount and and then realize that when comes Wednesday, you need to clear that cap space to be able to sign those players. But you would think that they would try to do it before tomorrow at noon. You would think they would have tried to do it the past 2 months that they had the opportunity. So I don't know what is taking them so long to clear the cap space so they're not in the negative, but we'll see. We'll see how that all pans out. But there's some other contracts that I want to talk about. Now, they re-signed Jake Bailey. I wasn't happy about it. You guys saw the video. I wasn't happy about it. But this is Jake Bailey's contract right here. They signed him to a 2-year, $4.2 million contract, averaging $2.1 million. This year, he's making 1.6 million, a cap hit, a dead cap of 2.2. So he's only making 1.6. Somebody I think it was on Twitter. I don't think it was in the comment section. I think it was on Twitter. Somebody said that, why did the Dolphins make him the highest paid punter? The highest paid punter is $2.5 million. He's only getting 1.6. Now, if the Dolphins wanted to cut him, they couldn't. Maybe during the training camp and stuff, they cut him, but they wouldn't get anything. So he's going to be the Dolphins punter this year. I know some people were like, hey, they're going to bring in competition and, then they can release him because there's no guarantee. No, there's guaranteed money and he can't be released. So he's going to be the Dolphins punter in 2024, which fantastic. Just so happy for that. And again, this will be next year and then they'll probably just cut him next year. But yeah, you know how I feel. Apparently they brought him back because he's really good at helping be a holder for Jason Sanders. And he used to be a good punter. So maybe he can go back to that. So those are kind of the Dolphins news. Now there's some other news around the NFL that I kind of want to touch upon because I made my free agency video Friday on who I'd like the Dolphins to target, and a lot of the people already are gone. Like the linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs, he got re-signed. Andre, the center for the Raiders, he got re-signed. There's a few other guys that got re-signed that I'm like, why do I make videos? But there's some that was cut, like Eric Armstead from the 49ers, their defensive lineman was cut. And yes, he's up there in age, but he's still really good and definitely could help this team if we do lose out on Christian Wilkins. Linebacker Devondre Campbell from the Green Bay Packers was released. Maybe a possibility at bringing him in for the middle linebacker position. Our linebackers coach was his defensive coordinator, so there is some type of connection there. Now, the last thing I do want to talk about, and I'll go into, I told one of you guys on Twitter I would go into kind of the comp picks and how they work a little bit. But the last thing I want to talk about is the defensive tackle situation. Now, first and foremost, Chris Jones just signed a 5-year, $158 million, $95 million guaranteed contract. This thing is ridiculous. He's taking a very low cap hit of $7.3 million this year, and then it shoots up to $34.8, and then it shoots up even more to $41.1 million. And then after in 2027, they can release him and get some cap space of $22 million or $28 million. That last year where it gets up to 41, they could still release him and save some type of cap space, but have to deal with an $18 million in dead cap. But he's making mucho dinero, like mucho dinero, a $30 million signing bonus. Huge. Now, 31.75 average annually. Again, he'll get that in probably the second year. If Christian Wilkins thinks that he should be paid that much, I'm going to disagree with that. But there was another guy, Justin Matabuki, I probably butchered his name and I do apologize, who signed a new contract this weekend, 4 years, $98 million. Average is 24.5. He's getting total guarantees 75.5. Now the Dolphins did offer last offseason top 10 money to Christian Wilkins as well as a $40 million guaranteed. Now that was before he went off and got 9 sacks. Now Justin had 13 sacks last year. Huge jump for him. If you look at the way his contract is structured, now I don't like this number here, the 33.25. They could move on from him and save some money, but have to deal with a 22.5 dead cap. But I like the way this is structured in the aspect of it's not this year he's going to cost you 20 plus million. Next year he's going to, Everyone who thinks that when they look at average salary needs to start looking at these contracts, because he's getting 12.2 this year. Next year, he's getting 18.7. And then year 3, he's getting 33.25. If he continues to play really good and get double digits or at least 9 sacks a year, they'll probably get to here where a lot of players, Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, not Teron Armstead, Jalen Ramsey, where you get to this point where this is your last year of guaranteed money, and they redo your contract, add more money on, add more guarantee, yada, yada. They'll probably do that. I like the way this is structured for Christian Wilkins. Now, does he deserve 24.5? To me personally, I think he had 1 year with 9 sacks. If it was 2 years back-to-back with 8 or 9 sacks, then yes, I'd say pay him his money. He definitely owes it. But his sack total went up, but his tackle total went down. It's like get one or the other with him. I'd give him 21. I give him 21 million a year, but again, I would structure it this way, where it was a gradual beginning. Where you look at in 2 years, Tyreek Hill's probably not going to be on the team. Bradley Chubb's probably not going to be on the team. There's a lot of players that won't be on the team, and that's something else that I want to kind of touch upon. Last thing before I talk about let's take a very load. Last thing I want to talk about before I talk about comp picks. I'm so sorry, my brain's not working. So 2024, if the Miami Dolphins restructure Bradley Chubb to clear cap space, because it's a $26 million cap hit. It's a huge cap hit. If they restructure this and add more years onto his contract, again, this out gets pushed down a year or two, then next year they can't move off from him. Because if you look next year, they can release him for a post-June 1st cut, or even just release him straight out and save either $10 or $20 million with only a $16 million dead cap hit. 2026, it's a little bit more. So if they decide, hey, we like him, we want to continue to build with him, and we will restructure him and cut that down about 10 million, whatever, they'll move that. Or they can let it ride and see how it works and then move on from him next year and save even more money. So I kind of wanted to talk about that because, yes, to me, Tyreek and Ramsey and Teron Armstead should be restructured, and Tua's going to get his new contract, so that'll give us more cap space. And we have the 18.5 coming after June 1st. But with Bradley Chubb, it's like, if you're going to restructure it, I wouldn't add more guarantee onto it. I wouldn't move that potential out, if that makes any sense. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the guys who were re-signed. Teron Armstead coming back, Bailey's contract, if Madubuike's contract, if you could see, if you would like that, again, not the numbers, but how it's structured for Christian Wilkins. What's your max number for Christian Wilkins? And your thoughts on Eric Armstead and Devondre Campbell potentially joining the Dolphins. Before I end this video, one of you guys asked me about comp picks and kind of how they work. So say that Christian Wilkins goes out, he gets a fat contract, and then Robert Hunt goes out and he gets like a $15 million a year contract. Those are big contracts for those positions, and potentially going to give the Miami Dolphins 2 comp picks of next year around third round. Worst case, Robert Hunt would be a 4th round comp pick. The Dolphins cannot overtake those contracts. Essentially what a comp pick is the NFL is helping you for losing talent. They are giving you picks to make up for the talent you lost. So Christian Wilkins losing huge talent for the Miami Dolphins. You could tell by the contract he got from his new team. Here's a 3rd round comp pick. Same thing with Robert Hunt. Huge talent the Dolphins lost. Big contract, potentially low 4 or 3rd, here to make up for it. So there's that. And again, you can't, then if you're bringing in players, like if the Dolphins lose Christian Wilkins, but say we brought in Madubuike, I'm so sorry if I keep butchering his name, and pay him, then the NFL's like, you didn't lose anything. So you don't get a comp pick for that. See what I'm saying? It's a wash. There's another thing you need to realize. But trades don't count against comp picks. And like if we do sign Eric Armstead and it's like for like $6 million a year, whereas Wilkins goes out and he makes like $20 million a year, then it doesn't offset. Anyway, The other thing you got to realize, and it happened to us with Juwan James. Juwan James, if you guys remember, signed with the Denver Broncos, signed a fat contract as a right tackle. The Dolphins were supposed to get a 3rd-round comp pick. He got injured, played about 5 games that year. The Dolphins ended up getting a 5th-round comp pick. It doesn't matter the contract. They also have to play. So the productivity also has to be there. It's a whole hodgepodge of a mess. Comp picks suck. But if the Dolphins do lose out on Hunt and they do lose out on Christian Wilkins and they don't sign any big players, like they don't bring in Patrick Queen for $16 million, that would probably negate Robert Hunt's contract if we lose him. So we probably only get 1 comp pick from Christian Wilkins if we lose him. Then, yeah, that's how that all works. It's a whole hot mess, and I'll talk about it more. But one of you guys asked me to explain it more. There you go. But I will see you guys again. It depends on when you're watching this. I don't think a lot of you guys are up late. So if you're watching this early in the morning, I'll see you guys later today because the tampering period starts Monday, the 11th at noon, which for some of you guys is today. And if not, you're watching this when it came out tomorrow. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Like usual, stay classy. Friends up.